When you look at a simple bamboo flute, what do you really see? It seems so basic, right? Just a tube with a few holes. But today, we're going to peel back the layers on this thing, and I guarantee you'll be amazed. We're going to find a whole world of culture, some mind-bending physics, and yeah, even a little bit of human drama. So to really get to the soul of a flute, we first have to understand how it grabs hold of our imagination. It's so much more than just an object. It's a vessel for stories and for sound. And sometimes, as we're about to see, that sound can literally change the course of a person's life. I mean, listen to this. This is about the famous flutist Mono Singh. He was just an 8-year-old kid in Bodh, Nepal. And one night, the sound of a bamboo flute just drifted through his window on the breeze. And that was it. He was totally hooked. He went out, bought a cheap little flute from a street vendor, and that one moment kicked off a journey that made him one of Nepal's greatest musicians. It all started with just a sound on the wind. Okay, but before a flute can sing its song, someone has to make it. So let's take a look at how a simple piece of bamboo gets transformed into this incredible instrument. The process looks deceptively simple, but trust me, it requires an amazing amount of precision. So the traditional Nepali morali, it all starts with a very specific kind of bamboo called Molingo. It's cut, then a thin piece of wood or bamboo called a Choya is put in near one end to create the airway. And after that, 6 or 7 holes are placed with incredible care. Every single one of these steps is absolutely crucial to getting the final sound just right. All right, let's get into the science of it, because this is cool. We have our crafted tube, but how does just blowing air into it create these beautiful, specific notes? Well, the answer isn't magic. It's pure, elegant physics. Let's break it down. The secret sauce here is something called a standing wave. Think about plucking a guitar string. You see it vibrate in that stable, predictable pattern, right? Well, a very similar thing happens to the column of air inside the flute. Your breath makes that air vibrate, and it creates a stable wave. This wave has points that don't move at all, those are the nodes, and points that move the most, the antinodes. This is what gives the flute its clear, steady tone, instead of just sounding like, well, a bunch of wind. And this slide just illustrates it perfectly. Look at the diagram on the left. You can actually see that wave forming inside the air column. Now, here's what's really fascinating. Check out the concept on the right, end correction. The sound wave doesn't just slam into a wall at the end of the flute. It actually extends a tiny bit beyond it. So the effective length of the flute is just a little bit longer than its physical length. And that little detail is what truly sets the note. So here it is. This is the whole game in a nutshell. When you cover all the holes, you're making the air vibrate along the entire length of the tube. That creates a long sound wave, which our ears hear as a low pitch. But the second you lift a finger and uncover a hole, you've effectively shortened that vibrating column of air. A shorter air column means a shorter wavelength, and a shorter wavelength gives you a higher pitch. That's it. A flute is just a simple but totally brilliant machine for changing the length of a sound wave. So we've nerded out on the physics, but what about the physical object itself? A bansuri is made of bamboo, which is a natural, living material, and that means you have to take care of it. But how you're supposed to do that is, believe it or not, the subject of a really intense debate among players. This is the question, the one that gets the whole flute community talking. It sounds so simple, but I'm telling you, people have very, very strong opinions on this. Should you oil your bamboo flute to protect it, or should you just leave it alone? So on one side, you've got experts like the Nepal Music Gallery. They say oiling with something like mustard or olive oil is essential. It prevents cracks, especially in dry climates, and it strengthens the bamboo. But on the other side, you've got players, like this person on Reddit, who say that when they oiled their flute, it actually attracted more fungus and dirt. They argue that one of the best things about a bamboo flute is that it's low maintenance, and that just warming it up properly is all you need to do. So look, while the great oil debate rages on, there are a few basics that everyone agrees on. You have to protect your flute from sudden changes in temperature, because that's what causes cracks. If you do see any fungus, just wipe it away gently. And, most importantly, just handle your instrument with care. It's a real partnership. Okay. We've talked about the magic, the craft, the science, and the care. But a flute is nothing without a musician. And the life of a musician, especially in Nepal's folk music world, is way more complex than just playing beautiful tunes. Take a look at this cassette from 2007. It looks pretty harmless, right? It's called Cats and Dogs. Well, this little tape, it ignited a complete firestorm. We're talking artists marching in the streets, a music company sign getting set on fire, lawsuits flying everywhere. And why? Because the lyrics on this album were seen as a deep, profound insult to the entire community of musicians.
And here's one of the lines that did it. The album basically accused popular folk artists of everything you can imagine, from misconduct to stealing songs to just being disloyal. It said they had no honor, that they were no better than street animals. For a community where respect and prestige are everything, this wasn't just an insult, it was a declaration of war.
But here's the thing. This was never just about hurt feelings or name-calling. The whole cats and dogs controversy blew the lid off a much deeper issue, a massive clash over the very definition of an artist's value. How do you measure success and respect in a world where ancient tradition and modern life are colliding head-on?
And this slide just breaks down those colliding worlds perfectly. For centuries, an artist's value came from what's called traditional reciprocity. Basically, you perform for your community, and in return, you get gifts and social standing. Or it came from caste-based patronage, where certain musician castes historically served wealthy patrons. Then, in the 20th century, the highest honor became state patronage. You could become a salaried national artist. But now, there's this new model in the mix, the neoliberal self. That's the artist as a personal brand, as an entrepreneur out there competing in the market. The Cats and Dogs album was basically an attack from this new worldview against all the old ones, and it exposed all the tension and anxiety over who gets to decide what an artist is really worth.
Whew. So, from one simple piece of bamboo, we've traveled through physics, culture, and a really complex human economy. It's time to bring all these different threads together for one final note. You see, this humble instrument is never just one thing, is it? It's a cultural artifact born from generations and generations of tradition. It's a scientific marvel operating on the beautiful and predictable laws of physics, and it's the center of a delicate, fragile economy where artists have to navigate these incredibly complex social systems just to make a living and earn a little respect.
And that leaves us with this final question. When we listen to a piece of music, what are we really valuing? Is it the perfect physical frequency of the note? The centuries of tradition that went into making the instrument? Or is it the struggle, the passion, and the livelihood of the actual person whose breath is giving that song life? Perhaps the real value lies in understanding that it's all of them, all at once.